Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Backpack Hack channel. Today I'm going to show you photographers how to improve your photographs. Now I'm not talking about how to do better photography out in the field. I'm talking about what's called post-processing. And if you've never done any editing of your photographs, I'm going to show you 5 tips that you can take your photographs from woof to wow. Now I want to qualify these. These are not something that's going to take an average snapshot that you took on your vacation to Yellowstone or wherever, and it's going to belong on the cover of National Geographic. I'm just talking about taking care of some of the minor problems that are inherent with modern cameras, and maybe something you haven't thought about, and move these adjustments just a little bit. Qualify these. Just because you move this slider a little bit and you get a huge improvement doesn't mean you can take it all the way over and you got a picture that looks like it belongs on the cover of National Geographic. Everything in moderation. A little bit of adjustment can go a long way. So let's take this picture back to the computer and I'll show you how to take your pictures from woof to wow. Okay, so we've got the image loaded into the computer and you're probably thinking, well, there's nothing really fantastic about this photograph. Well, I didn't choose it because it's an outstanding photograph. I chose it because it has the symptoms that we need to correct all in one photograph. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting the black and the white points. We're going to be adjusting the curves. We're going to be doing an unsharp mask. We're going to increase the saturation. And the last step, I'm going to wait until I get towards the end and see if anybody can guess what the last step is going to be before we get to the end. Now, when I say adjusting the black and the white points, I'm not going to get too technical. But we're going to be using what is called the Curves tool. Now, different software displays this a little bit different, but is basically the same thing. And here's some other curves from other software of this same photograph and then how it displays the way it shows the Curves tool. And every software does this differently. You'll have to figure out how your software, how you manipulate this Curves tool. There's different software. You have to do different things to it to get it to do the way you want to do. But basically it is a rectangle or a square with a grid, a diagonal line from the bottom left to the top right, and what looks like the outline or silhouette of a very tall mountain or two. We're interested in the square, the overall square, that mountainous outline, and that diagonal line. What we want to look for is where this mountainous area touches the bottom of the square. On the left, it's called the black point. And on the right, that is what's called your white point. Again, I'm not going to get too technical about this, but bear with me. Again, different software does this differently, but what you want to do is left click on the bottom left of this line and drag it over to where the black point is. Do you see the background change? That was a dramatic change. However, if you look at the clouds up here, you'll notice they're still quite dull and lifeless. So we're going to set the white point. We're going to come up here and we're going to drag it over to where it's in line with the white point. And look at the difference in what we've got here. We've already gone from this dull, lifeless picture to an image that has quite a bit of zip to it. That's called setting the black and the white points. Now, if this graph in the background extends all the way to the left, you don't need to set the black point. If it extends all the way to the right, you don't need to set the white point. But if either one don't reach the edge of this box, you need to set the black or the white point, or you should. It'll help your images. Now, we're not quite done yet. One other thing that I suggest people learn is how to do more than just the black and the white points is edit this curve line here. Now you may think, well, that's not a curved line, that's a straight line. We're going to put a curve in it. And as a general rule, I would suggest most people start out coming up from this point to this point about a fourth of the way, left clicking on that line and dragging it down to the right ever so slightly. And you see the picture change in the background. Sure got a lot better, didn't it? Now we're going to reverse that. We're going to come down a fourth of the way down from the top, click on it and drag it up to the left. And that really brings out the dynamic of the image. We've got an image that really just jumps out at us just by setting this black on the white point and putting a slight S-curve into this. So we've already gone from this to this in just a matter of a few keystrokes, but we're not done yet. Those are the first two steps. We've adjusted the black and white points and we've adjusted the S-curve. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the saturation. I'm going to zoom in on these flowers a little bit. Again, everything in moderation. I'm going to click on saturation, and I'm going to bring the saturation up maybe to about 10 and click on OK. Now you may not be able to see the difference between this, which is before, and this, which is after. But when you actually do this on your own computer, you will see the difference. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to sharpen the image. Now I'm going to move into these blades of grass, and we're going to do what's called an unsharp mask. Now I know that sounds contradictory. We don't want to make it unsharp. We want to sharpen it. Don't ask me why, but it's called an unsharp mask. Come up here, and we're going to find our unsharp mask. And I'm going to reset them all to 0 to show you my suggestion on how to do this. You'll notice that there's a radius, amount, and threshold. And again, I'm not going to get into the technicalities of it, but bring the threshold up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be very far. Bring the amount up just a little past it, the threshold, and bring the radius up a little bit past the amount. So basically you have a stair-step effect. And again, not very much. You don't want to run these all the way to the right. Just this little bit is going to help take care of the picture in terms of sharpness. Now you probably can't see it in this video screen capture, but there's before and there is after. There's before and there is after. I seriously doubt my screen capture program is going to capture that. So we'll call it good for the day. And finally, there's one more thing we need to do. Have you figured it out? Well, it's something that a lot of photographers miss. And that is a level horizon. If you look at this, the whole picture is just sliding off your screen to the right. It's unnatural. It's uncomfortable to look at. So, my software allows me to pick a point here on the horizon and here on the horizon. And hopefully you can see this line that's got a slight angle to it up from the upper left to the lower right. That allows me to initiate what's called a rotate tool. Now, some softwares will automatically detect a horizon. Some will guess and may get it wrong. Again, you're going to have to check your software to see how this functions. But I'm just going to click on my straighten and crop. Let the software do its thing. And the next thing I know, I've got a nice level photograph. So we have gone from this to this in just 5 simple steps. Now I realize this has taken quite a bit of time, but when you get proficient at it on your own computer with your software, it will only take you 30 seconds to perform all these steps. To go from this to setting the black and white points and adjusting the curve, increasing the saturation, increasing sharpness, and leveling your photograph. All right, there you go. And as I say, not all pictures will have these exact same steps. Not all photographs will need these same steps. But if you simply look at doing these 5 things, evaluate each one of those 5 steps. If the picture needs it, how much do you do? And then you do just that much. Like I say, don't crank those sliders all the way up just because you have that ability. Everything in moderation. So this is Backpack Hack. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out there on the trail.